Jason Gilbo here at JGilbo11, breaking down some GPP bets for today's slate. Just 4 games, so we're going to go team by team here to take a look what we got. A couple of lefties on the hill. You have 4 lefties, so again, we have some right-handed platoon bets in there, which you can definitely consider. Starting with this Boston side, obviously Betts, Bogarts, Hanley are going to be expensive. And also going to be, highly owned. I think the pivots you can certainly make in this one. Josh Rutledge is a value. Chris Young, I still don't mind. Sam Travis is a guy who is really cheap. Probably only going to see 2 at bats. We've seen Mitch Moreland come in and pinch hit once the lefty goes. So that's the only downside to him. But if you get a homer in one of those 2 at bats, and against Miley, that's possible. At his price, I don't hate it. So it is a contrarian move to make tonight. I don't mind using Travis in a GPP fashion as part of maybe a stack. You look at Miley, 3.38 wOBA to righties this year, 6 home runs coming mainly over the last few games, 39% hard contact rate. So, Miley's starting to come around to the point where you can just fire away against him, which I have been all year. Now it's starting to finally pay off. He was playing lucky for a while. So Boston, obviously, good run total there in year 5. Going to be a little bit chalky. I still think the value is going to be a little bit chalky, but, the back half of the lineup guys are not going to be Bogarts ownership. It's not going to be Mookie ownership. So if you're looking to be different and play leverage plays, I think the back half is an intriguing way to go. And as I said on Baltimore on the stacking pod, they're definitely contrarian tonight. Will they have ownership? Sure, but I don't think it's going to be anything crazy high. I think 10 to 15 is going to be their max. Just because of how bad they've been, especially against left-handers this year. But obviously, look at Rodriguez. 271 wOBA to righties, not great. Does give up a lot of fly balls, does miss a ton of bats. But you know what? Guys like Machado, guys like Adam Jones, Joey Ricard, Mark Trumbo all have some numbers in their career that they've had great seasons against lefties, all below 4K on DraftKings. And I think that's where I'm most intrigued with because the price tags have dropped on them. To use them as one-offs, 2-offs, and even a stack if you're building multiple lineups tonight. So they're good contrarian pieces to maybe put into more chalkier lineups because there's still that upside out of them, and also they're not going to kill your salary. So Baltimore's an intriguing team just in general of one-off stacks, 2-offs against Rodriguez if you're kind of looking to be different tonight. Yankees and Blue Jays, Marco Estrada, CC Sabathia. I'll start with the Yankee side first. I'm not particularly intrigued. Estrada's been pretty solid. Doesn't allow a ton of hard contact. The ground ball rate's low, but once again, he just kind of does his thing. The only issue that I see with him is 1.39 home runs per 9 to lefties this year, but he just doesn't give up a ton of hard contact rate. Yankees run total slipping, by the minute here. It's at 4. It was up a little bit last night. So I'm not really in love with anyone. I think the right-handers are kind of tough to be excited about. Aaron Judge would obviously have the power and the upside to kind of carry away Gary Sanchez if you're looking to pay up. Yankees are a good contrarian team. I don't know how much I'll be going that route today, but I don't hate the idea. Estrada's just good enough. I plan on using him. So the Yankees, kind of like the Orioles, are just kind of those leverage plays against Estrada and Rodriguez owners if you're looking to kind of hedge a bit. But I'm not particularly loving it. On the Toronto side, you're going to get chalky Josh Donaldson, which I'm completely fine with paying up at third base because third base is a spot where it's Josh Donaldson and then not a lot that I want to use. So I'll probably be making a priority to use Donaldson against CC Sabathia in that ballpark. Kevin Pillar at really nice price. He's going to be probably a little bit popular because the value on him is nice, and it's just a 4-game slate. And then you kind of get into the other guys. People might still be on Smoke. I like Kendrys Morales, who does hit lefties. This is a good pivot away from Smoke. He's been red hot. Russell Martin, Troy Tulowitzki, Devin Travis, all certainly in play given the fact that they have weaker positions. They might carry a little bit higher ownership, but I don't think it'll be as high as Bautista, Donaldson, and Pillar. So kind of like the Red Sox where you can pivot away from those main guys and kind of use the secondary pieces. They're still in a good spot and still hitting the ball well. So Arizona, Miami, Zach Greinke is going to be a chalk tonight. So if you want him take some Marlins against them and kind of hedge a little bit, I'm fine with that. We saw it pay off if you use Milwaukee. You also might be able to get into a bullpen that, coming off a long game last night. But Greinke's been pretty solid. The only number that stood out to me is the 40% hard contact rate to righties and a 1.43 homers per nine. With that being said, Stanton's questionable. Marcell Ozuna I might consider tonight. But outside of that, I mean, everyone's kind of off limits. I don't mind a Justin Bour. There might be a power potential here for a home run or two. If you can get that one-off home run, I'm fine with it. But it's not digging deep into guys like Dietrich or Riddle. It's Ozuna, it's Yelich, it's Stanton, Bour. Those are the guys you'll consider if you're looking for one-offs to be contrarian. But I'm not really going all in there. And on the Arizona side, as I said, I would love to stack this team against Jeff Locke. Jeff Locke's an average lefty at best. Paul Goldschmidt's your high upside in first baseman. I'm curious to see how many people pay up for him. I don't think a lot will because of how pricey he is. But against a lefty, he's always going to stand out on any given slate, even at any price tag. So, Goldschmidt's a high upside option. There's other first base that people look at, and I'm kind of hoping they stick with their stacks and use those first basemen instead to kind of lower Goldschmidt's ownership. If you're looking at guys in this one, Nick Ahmed, Chris Owings, Brandon Drury, Chris Iannetta, all kind of those one-off, two-off cheap values that have decent numbers against lefties, so I don't mind tossing them in. I think a lot of people will go to the Arizona value bets, but that's really okay on tonight's slate. To do that and kind of go and kind of make those big bats fit in. So Arizona kind of has its purpose tonight. I think they're going to carry some decent ownership, but as expected, that's fine. Yasmani Tomas is probably the guy that won't have a ton of upside or a ton of ownership, but the upside's there. He's been struggling, had the day off yesterday, which helps. But his numbers against lefties in his career are solid. Hard contact rate still very solid against lefties this year. Strikeout rate's high, but Jeff Locke doesn't miss a ton of bats. Tomas is an intriguing GPP outfielder. He's the one guy I think is going to be on the contrarian side for Arizona. So Minnesota, Los Angeles, we got Alberto, Mejia here, Alex Meyer. Twin side, I talked about this in the pitching pod, given the fact that Meyer's issue is with lefties allowing a crazy high hard contact rate in a small sample size, over 380 WOBA in his career. Guys like Robbie Grossman, extremely red hot. Max Kepler, I don't mind. Even Jorge Polanco, Eddie Rosario. Good one-offs, two-offs here for Minnesota. I don't even hate a stack. Miguel Sano's back in the lineup. I don't mind him. Brian Dozier as well. Minnesota's a really good GPP team to kind of differ yourself from the Jays and Boston tonight. So I think people are going to forget about them going out west. Even the Angels, the only guy I'll really consider is Albert Pujols at 4.2, trying to get number 600, has a decent number against lefties. Outside of that, though, if Cameron Maybin's in the lineup, but you can consider him. Jeffrey Marte on DraftKings is third base eligible. He's a value guy to consider, over 200 ISO against lefties in his career, but that's about it from the Angels side. So that's going to wrap things up here. You can head over to DaveMastiCap.com, check out the great tools and content.